What's up, Kaijudo Duel Masters? I am Pojiforce. That is my hat. Beneath my hat is my Dark Saberbolt profile. As I promised, this profile is coming up after the remainder of my duels from 2 weeks ago. This is the deck as I ran it. At those events, I placed first in both tournaments. That was the week that most of our gang was in Wisconsin. But still, I was playing against all the top tier decks still. Had Birds and Bottles, had Blurple, had Andromeda Control. So this deck actually put in a lot of work, did really well in pretty much every matchup. And so I thought I would share it with you. Now we're going to start up here. This is the heart of the deck right here. This is part of why it's called Saberbolt. And that's because this little Beastkin engine right here. Prickleback is a very good card because it's nice and aggressive. Turn 1, you got yourself a body on the board that can attack already. Razor Hide helps me generate mana, and Sabertooth helps me be aggressive and generate mana because it is a beat stick at 4 mana. Difficult to deal with. When they do deal with it, I get more mana. Yay for me! Awesome stuff right there. This is pretty much the heart of the deck, part of it anyway. Now the rest of my nature section, 3 Reap and Sow for more mana generation in a small draw. Root Trap is there instead of Terra Pit because the meta as it currently stands, or at least as it did stand today, is Friday the 24th. So Clash of the Duel Masters has dropped. So this deck will probably be changing dramatically, if not being completely taken apart, to deal with the future meta. But for the meta as this deck stood, Root Trap was the better choice because Lux could not stop Root Trap. They have a big dragon out. You play Terra Pit, oh, Lux is dead instead. You play Root Trap, you're not banishing it, you're sending it to the mana zone. So it became the superior card in that situation. Next I got my big dragons here. Bolt Tail Dragon. He's the other half of why this is called Saberbolt, and that you use all this nature over here to generate yourself up to 6 to 8 mana. And then you drop Bolt Tail Dragons, so that way even after Sabertooth is down, they still have to deal with very fast, very aggressive 7,000 power creatures. And Furnace the Awakened is a good card just because he's huge, and he's currently the biggest dragon in the meta, short of Flame Spike. And he's not an evolution. His abilities are devastating in Furnace the Awakened. And he's just a very difficult card to deal with. I've seen people scoop to Infernus. Then we got 1 Tech Tetsura in the Unchained. Great for dealing with birds. Good for pushing aggression if they have blockers. Just a really powerful card. Even in this meta, it's still really good. Moving down to the second row, we got 1 Helaflame the Assaulter as a tech. Because unless they have that discard, some decks don't. It's a really difficult card to deal with. No one really plays a whole lot of big blockers anymore, so there's really no big blockers to worry about. It used to be a good tech card against Blurple, but since Blurple's kind of fallen off the radar, it's not really used for that anymore. It can be used to swing over birds that got aggressive in the early game, but otherwise Helaflame is just there as a final push to help me get through to that game-winning attack. Remainder of my fire section, 2 Tornado Flame, 2 Barrage. Tornado Flame and Barrage are both... Barrage particularly is really good because it's a great way to clear out all enemy birds. And it gets rid of Khumalo, just a whole bunch of creatures that are difficult to deal with. Tornado Flame was a tech choice because I knew that my opponents would be playing Blurple and that they'd be playing Herald. Herald being a very tricky card to play around if you aren't careful. Tornado Flame was a good tech choice for that because even though I ended up never playing the Herald deck, the Tornado Flame was there just in case. It was still used more than once in my tournaments and the events, so it's still a usable card, and it has an interesting the fact that it can hit certain things that normal spells can't. Like for example, Bone Blades can hit a Gloom Hollow, but it can't hit, say, a Razorkin or Puppet, whereas Tornado Flame can. Speaking of Gloom Hollow there, Scared Werewolf Gloom Hollow is a tech blocker just here as an emergency block and as a last-ditch offense. Still a really good card. It's probably going to be even more powerful because of Clash, because you got all those new 2 and 3 drops that are huge, but Gloom Hollow can still block them no problem. So now we get over here to more of my dark section. Bone Blades and Death Smoke is my removal. Bone Blades is great for dealing with enemy Saberbolts, Sabertooths, Still a good card against the likes of Khumalo. Death Smoke is there because enemy dragons are big but slow. And if they have no Lux in play, they play a big dragon and then I just get rid of it. So Death Smoke is there at 2. And the whole reason why we played Dark is for these two bad boys right here. Dragon decks hate discard. Discard is the ultimate answer to Dragon decks because they're all very expensive. And the ways in getting them out cheaply are few and difficult to use. Such as Bottle, which is 100% luck. And Herald, which requires that they have a tapped dragon, they have a tapped card in play that he can kill, and that you have a dragon in your hand. And plus having Herald of Infernus in play kind of announces to your opponent, hey, I'm trying to play this big guy in my hand. So Razor Kinder Puppet, great card. 6 for 3, you look at your opponent's hand, you pick a card, and they discard it. Might get replaced in the future by Mesmerize because it does the same thing as a 3-cost spell, comes out much sooner. Skull Shatter, 8-drop spell. Opponent discards their entire hand. Devastating. That might get replaced by Mesmerize instead, actually, because, you know, sometimes you just need to get rid of that one card that you know is going to mess you up. And you can do it a lot more cheaply with Mesmerize and Skull Shatter. But Skull Shatter is still really good. If your opponent's got a big hand, you make them toss all of it. That's another reason why Mesmerize might see play over Skull Shatter in the future, because there is that new card, that new giant. Oh, you make me discard my hand? I have 3 of that giant in my hand. They come to play. So that's the deck, guys. That's 40 cards. Let's count real quick. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 card nature section. A 6, 10, 11 card fire section. And a 3, 6, 9, 11, 14 card dark section. So that's 14, 11, 25, and 15 for 40. So that is the deck that I played on the weekends of November 11th and 12th. That is the deck I used. Did really well. Did amazingly, as a matter of fact. So I hope you enjoy this quick deck profile. Like and subscribe, favorite, and stay tuned for future videos. And I will see you all next time. Later.